Harmonic Convergence 2020 to 2028. From 911 Planetary Emergency to 1111 NOOSPHERIC Emergence. It must be understood that the events of 9 to 11 were so historically unprecedented, so mind-bogglingly dramatic, that they require a large lens through which to fully interpret their meaning. The law of time is such a lens. Quite simply, the destruction of the Twin Towers defines the limit of artificial time. If this is so, what can be expected following this world-shattering event? Tilde Jose Arguelles. Time and the Technosphere. 2002. Every year as we approach the date September 11th, the cybersphere is flooded with remembrance stories of the event that sent shockwaves across the Earth and defined a decisive breaking point in the evolutionary history of the planet and a dramatic rupture in fabric of time-space. So every time we approach this date we have the chance to revisit these traumatic events from a higher perspective and examine them with renewed insight under the light of present-day circumstances through the fourth-dimensional lens of the synchronic order. In this way, we are able to reframe their meaning and re-assess their significance during these chaotic times on Earth. The redemption of the 911 generation. 20 years marks the span of one generation. In other words, 2021 marks the completion of one entire generational cycle since the events that triggered the War on Terror and consequently, the current geopolitical chaos we are witnessing taking place in Afghanistan. There are also multiple layers of resonance between the events of September 11, 2001 and March 11, 2020, the day when the World Health Organization declared the current planetary emergency on the 9th anniversary of the Fukushima planetary emergency. The 911 generation grew up already wired to the technosphere, with the internet at their disposal since childhood. Nonetheless, it is a generation born out of trauma and confusion. The chaotic end of the failed 20-year intervention experiment in the Middle East has been the main focus of attention in the media during the past 2 weeks, and the images we have been seeing in the news are just the echoes of this original trauma. Considering the multiple crisis scenarios playing out on Earth after 20 years from the inevitable event, and the heightened state of confusion and fear palpable in the human family, we considered relevant to bring back to memory some fundamental concepts and present a synthesis of this difficult chapter for humanity from the perspective of the synchronic order. This exercise may allow us to comprehend current world events within a larger fractal context and is integral part of the theoretical framework presented by Jose Arguelles in his groundbreaking book Time and the Technosphere, The Law of Time in Human Affairs, 2002. We hope you can find these updates insightful and meaningful as we complete this 20-year redemptive cycle. 2021 NOOSPHERIC Evolutionary Choice Point. We are transiting an extremely sensitive window of time on Earth. Humanity is at a crossroads. Global events are now signaling the entrance into a new stage of the evolutionary genetic experiment taking place on Earth. We are entering a clear choice point on the biosphere-noosphere transition timeline. This is therefore a time to hold space for the healing of ourselves and for the organic evolution of all life on the planet. This is a time to be prepared for rapid changes while holding a field of harmony and heart-brain coherence around the Earth. How? Parallel to the deconstruction of the old paradigm, there is a more subtle and constructive process taking place. A new reality imbued with harmony and coherence is emerging out of this chaotic node. This alternate reality can only be perceived with the right set of eyes, codes and tools. The synchronic order provides these codes and tools, and we can provide our conscious awareness to make them visible within our everyday reality. Time to redeem the technosphere. 9/11/2021 represents therefore a decisive threshold for humanity. The closing of this 20-year cycle is highlighted by the completion of key chronological milestones within the 28-year redemptive timeline that Jose Arguelles introduced in Time and the Technosphere, The Law of Time in Human Affairs. Arguelles' life and work were deeply affected by the events of Hiroshima and September 11, 2001, and his perspective on them was summarized on this book, where he clearly identified this time-splitting event as the inevitable event, an event of such magnitude that defined a limit of artificial time, represented by the fall of the Twin Towers. Time and the Technosphere, The Law of Time in Human Affairs remains still to this day, as one of the most powerful testimonies of Arguelles' legacy on planet Earth. The book is unique in its genre, as it is the only one that provides both a solid theoretical framework, mind construct, as well as a different chronological framework, time construct, to approach the eschatological discourse and fully comprehend the scale and implications of the events transpiring now on Earth. 28-year journey of redemption. Since the moment we crossed the galactic synchronization event horizon of July 26, 2013, We have been carefully tracking and documenting the unfolding of this redemptive narrative as it is being revealed over the past 8 years. With the passing of time, we have been compiling new key components that can now be cross-referenced, analyzed, and placed into a present-day reality context. This process is helping us to gain a larger historic perspective to appreciate Jose's message at this time on Earth, and is also allowing us to establish memory anchors, key events that can serve as past/future reference points on the timeline. Coherence, a continuous and coherent flow between these events via synchronicity. Balance, a balanced perspective that can help us neutralize the chaos and stabilize the mental field and the polarizing energies playing out on Earth every year during this second moon of challenge. Overcoming polarity. As presented in prior years, this entire moon is one of the most time-sensitive windows of the year. It is at times like this when we need to be extra aware of the thought forms we entertain in our minds and the energy we are putting out in the world. 9 to 11 corresponds every year to day 20 of this second moon, and this coming 20th anniversary is synchronizing with the completion of 28 Soken cycles since this event. The dragon represents the archetype, the memory holder. It represents our nurturing connection to the cosmos. The etheric umbilical cord to Source/Galactic Center. So, during this entire 13-day cycle of the dragon, we will explore and define in depth the meaningful archetypal patterns and synchronic connections coming to the surface of our awareness as we reach this 20-year harmonic milestone from the moment when the bubble of artificial time popped, on September 11, 2001, and the illusion of the Tower of Babel archetypal construct started to collapse. September 11, 2021, Year of Fulfillment. The collapse of the two 110-story World Trade Center towers, as tragic as it was the fall of the Tower of Babel. On the 13-moon calendar count of the wizards. The event occurred on the 20th day of the lunar moon. During the 20th wavespell of the 20th galactic spin of the Harmonic Convergence. On the Gregorian calendar, it was the emergency code 9 to 11, September 11, 2001. This 20th galactic spin began on January 4, 2001, and, along with its 20th wavespell, ended on September 20, 2001. 20 is the number of totality and fulfillment. Jose A. plus Lloyd Dean B. As we have been observing throughout our investigation, the numbers 2 and 20 are heavily intertwined within the timeline of the inevitable event. The 20th anniversary from this iconic archetypal event signaling the end, Omega portal, of the Age of Terror and Ground Zero for the emergence of the noosphere will correspond to Kin 11, 11.11, this coming September 11, 2021, 2020+1, and will synchronize in a masterful way with the completion of 68 sacred Soken cycles since the inauguration, Alpha Portal, of the Twin Towers on April 4, 1973 Kin 11. 116 sacred Soken cycles since Jose's arrival, Alpha Portal, to planet Earth. September 11, 2022, Year of Mirror Reversal. Continuing with the another perfect numerical sequence, September 11, 2022 will correspond to Kin 116. This is of special interest considering that 116 is the perfect mirror reverse of 911. A perfect counterspin of history. 911 to 116. Stabilizing the field. On the Soken count yesterday we started a new galactic cycle of 260 days on Kin 1, and today September 2nd is Kin 2. Tone 2. Seal 2. Number 2 represents polarity and challenge. Kin 1 and 2 are a key component of the 911 redemptive narrative considering that 1. Kin 1 marks September 11, 2011, the 10-year midpoint of the 20-year, 20-day synchronization timeline. 2. Kin 2, 2.2, corresponds to the fall of Tenochtitlan, present-day Mexico City, on August 13, 1521 by the armies of Conquistador Hernán Cortés, marking the start of the first hell cycle of 52 years within the Quetzalcoatl prophecy of 13 heavens and 9 hells that culminated with the Harmonic Convergence of 1987 as the enactment of its fulfillment. We just completed 500 years of this prophetic event last August 13, 2021. For ancient alchemists, 500 years was considered the span age of the resurrection of the phoenix from the ashes. 3. Kin 2, 2.2, corresponds to the unified power of the inauguration, Alpha, and destruction, Omega, of the Twin Towers on day 20 of Moon 2. Kin 11, Alpha plus Kin 251, Omega equals Kin 2. 4. Kin 2, 2.2, codes the preface of the book Time and the Technosphere, The law of time in human affairs. Today is therefore a perfect opportunity to revisit the first and last paragraphs of the preface of this book and feel the resonance of this message sealed exactly 27 Sokin cycles from today. Time in the technosphere. The law of time in human affairs is essentially a prolonged set of meditations occasioned by the one most powerful and overwhelming event of our time, the 9-11, the inevitable event of September 11, 2001. Subsequent events may overshadow this one in horror and magnitude, but it was this event in particular, the destruction of the World Trade Center towers, that sent a signal that something very profound had occurred to change the way we think of ourselves and our future. As a preface to this book, I have found it mandatory to write this brief literary autobiography, often couched in a terminology that jumps ahead of the story, solely to demonstrate that the actualization of the noosphere corresponds to the stages of attainment and transcendence of one human's life journey in pursuit of the truth. Only in this way could I cultivate the noospheric perspective, voice, and point of view that was necessary for the writing of this text. In this perspective, the noosphere is a condition of non-anthropocentric consciousness. My journey, thus documented, is merely one way the noosphere has found to become conscious, asserting the law of time's purposive axiom, to make conscious what had been unconscious. The voice and method of the noospheric perspective are inseparable from the topic of this book, time in the technosphere. By analyzing the timing and structure of the technosphere, the noospheric point of view becomes conscious. Without understanding the nature and relation of time in the technosphere, there would be no truly sane way to comprehend the meaning of the inevitable event. Crystal Moon Kali 11. Kin 2, White Lunar Wind. Yellow Solar Seed Year. Cascadia, North America. Time in the technosphere, the law of time in human affairs. In Lake